It's good to debate and to debate vigorously. But I think we also need to be kind of careful because I remember in 2007 8, just before the conflict after the elections, the debate, there's a way in which you can debate or you can ask for votes among the people and then raise the temperatures to the extent that you see it's a do or die, and therefore any side which loses, it says it can't have lost, and the people take you and the people fight. So even when we are putting our points across, maybe it's important to put it in such a way that it's of course very convincing, but people follow the tempo of from the leadership, and therefore we don't want to be Uganda. We don't want to be Tanzania. We don't want to collapse. Because if we collapse, the only other country that we said is still alive is Rwanda in the East African region and us. And we are more than Rwanda, if I can say so, because we are an anchor of this region. So whatever it is that both government and opposition do, one wishes that we don't get to Uganda and we don't get to Tanzania. And I have heard somebody say that it's not easy for us to do that, but it is not just in this forum, but in the forum of out there when people are campaigning and so on. There's a way in which that should be done so that we really don't divide the country. So because everybody needs votes from everywhere. And I think for me, that kind of is important. What happened in the church, it can't be accepted. And in actual fact, I think if this kid has died, because I'm kind of out of the country, so I haven't gotten the information properly. But I knew about the Farrakers and all that very, very, very unfortunate situation. And really, that tells us that we are in a bad situation. I think also those who are on the side of the broad-based government, I think it's important for them to ask this 10-point agenda up to now in terms of real analysis. What is it that has been achieved? And what is the promise of in 1 year now, given the kind of money that we don't have, because most of the money goes to debt and all that? To what extent can actually the 10 points be realized? And I think maybe that's why some of the younger people in ODM are kind of restive and nervous, because they think that they might lose their positions in the next elections, and maybe they don't want to do that. So I think that's an important thing to interrogate what has been achieved, and why are these young people, the young leaders in ODM, why are they thinking that they are uncomfortable? Because it's important to look at issues in a sober way and not necessarily just to repeat a narrative, whatever its weight and so on. But also, and I said this, and the first time I said this, the opposition, this regular opposition, should not underestimate Ruto, because he's good at last mile politics. He may not be that much interested in development as such, because all these things, they're not succeeding. People go to court, they say they have not been done properly. But when it comes to really looking for power, as he did 1992, when Moi actually was giving up, Moi had said, and Ruto was young, and that time he told Moi, we are going with Jirongo, the late Jirongo, with Nyamwea, with others. We are going to fix the opposition. That is 1992. And that is 30 something years later, 33 years later also. So that means that the opposition, the organization that is required important organization is really heavy lifting. And I don't think it's impossible, but I think that if it's not done, then this guy has got government machinery. This guy has got, the money, the handouts. This guy, has those chiefs and assistant chiefs and village elders. This guy, as those kinds of things which people use to steal elections. So I think the opposition maybe needs to really dig deep, dig deep, and try to organize. But what one also would tell the state, it will not be a good thing to take Kenya to 2007, 8, or to Uganda or Tanzania. We must stand, and that's a common project of all of us, to really make sure that Kenya stands. Kenya does not, collapse, because if it collapses, you can't even go to Uganda, you can't even go to Somalia, you can't go to Tanzania, you can't go. Where will you go? And so, Dibal and Benji, we thank you, because you have people from all sides here, and this is a microcosm of the whole country. And so the debates here are important, and we should together actually begin to create consensus on how do we go forward. Consensus in terms of certain given things that we must have peace. The country can't break down. Let us, compete. We don't want election theft. We don't want, those things, so that then we can, secure our country. You lose, that's it. The president loses and he calls it a day. Another president comes. If that one is not working well, they lose. So that we create a culture, we create a tradition.
Let me just give a chance to Real James. I think Real James was on the line. He didn't say something. Real James, you wanted to just say one thing or two?
I think first of all, I would just take this opportunity also with the rest of the speakers to condemn what happened in central Kenya, in Othaya. It is not what's supposed to happen in a country which has the constitution that we do have and we do hail, with even articles like 10 which bind us to dignity and all that. But Dibal, having said that, it is important to also note that this thing is not happening only today in Kenya. I would take you back to 2023 when the victim today was the deputy president. And I remember, because I was part of those protests, he used to wake up at 5 a.m. and actually even made public remarks about the police and how they would deal with the protesters those times. If he, when it was in power, would have ensured that the police would not be that brutal to us when we were protesting, today when he's out of power, he would have known better that a regime would change. The police would do the same. But Dibal, it is also important that moving forward as Kenyans, we need to hold, because we've been part of the protest for the longest time. I'm a member of ODM, and for all those protests that we've had, Dibal, there have been a lot of police brutalities. We've called for action against the IG, because as per our constitution, Article 245, the IG is the one who can deploy police. When we called for Koome to be removed out of office, it was just political gimmicks. I remember one time when comrades died in the streets in Kisumu, Koome had the audacity to say that we went to the mortuary and picked people from the mortuary and paraded them on the road. So that this is something that has been perpetuated. And I remember Dibal, that my party leader who died, when he was signing the 10-point agenda with the UDA, he said something that I think Kenyans this needs to be drawn to the attention of Kenyans, that some of the problems that we face today as Kenyans are as old as the history of this country. So where have we been getting it wrong? Because if we don't look back to that, we will never be able maybe to resolve some of these issues. Because I'll tell you, security apparatus are loyal to the regime of the day. If William Ruto is out of office today and Gachagua takes over office tomorrow, the security apparatus will immediately go behind Gachagua and begin saluting. Will we ever get justice for the next lot that will be agitating for change? Will we ever get justice for the next lot that will be dissenting Those are some of the questions that we need to ask. So I am one of the people who like the 2010 constitutions, and the institutions need to be held to account. They are supposed to, because we have this narrative of opposition. Even those members of parliament who are standing behind Rigathi Gachagua today, when he was giving his speech, they are government. What are they doing? In fact, if you look at the constitution from Article 94, they have a mandate, they have a responsibility to even review the conduct of state officers. Do they do that? They do not do that. So we have this narrative of opposition and government. Government is so big. Parliament is part of government. It is the legislative arm of government. We have the executive. We have a very huge government. Each power is checked by power. That is the concept of the 2010 constitution. So these members of parliament need to review the conduct of state officers, starting from IG, and also that people are brought to book. Because I don't think that President William Ruto wants people to be killed or to be shot or what. This is not what a president would want. So, Dibal, these are things that we need to call out and ensure that Kenyans get justice. And as I learned, Dibal, this issue, because the topic was Ruto smart, Dibal, as I learned, I think William Ruto currently scores about 60% of Kenyan votes. He's infiltrated Mount Kenya, because I heard Ndego and Jiru talk about the numbers. He's been in Mount Kenya, so he's infiltrated Mount Kenya. Of course, the other regions like Nyanza, Western, Coast, Rift Valley are all behind William Ruto. At 60%, I would give him, is smarted out these opposition leaders. I don't know how they are going to outsmart him with the politics of campaigning in Mount Kenya and Nairobi. I don't know how. Thank you very much, Dibal.